just want to start off by asking you, what of these 32 mutations that everyone's talking about makes Omicron a variant of concern? The WHO said that it may possibly lead to increased risk of reinfections as compared to other VOCs. So if you could just sort of break it down for us.
Certainly. So this is by far the most mutated variant of the COVID-19 virus that we have seen so far. It has a total of 50 mutations, 50 mutations, of which 32 are in a region which we call the spike protein, which is a protein on the surface of the virus. And 10 of these mutations are within a region which we call the receptor binding domain and the N-terminal domain. These are regions which are used by the virus to bind to its target cells and to enter cells. This is also the region which is the target of antibodies that neutralize the virus, including monoclonal antibodies that have been used to treat patients. So that is the status at this time. What we don't know at this time is whether the virus will actually escape vaccine-induced or infection-induced immunity. That work is going on. There is some data now available that the virus transmits quite well. So, which means that it will continue to infect people. But whether it continues to infect only those who are susceptible, those who don't have, vaccine or infection-derived immunity, or whether it also reinfects people who have been previously immunized is not known at this time. What we also don't know at this time is whether it causes more severe disease.
Right, Dr. Jamil, as you said, there's a race on to sort of try and study this variant a little better and, see how well it works against the vaccines. But it was seen with Delta that the efficacy of these vaccines fell by a certain percentage. It was seen in Delta in Indian studies and also in South Africa. So is that a concern that is driving this, this investigations, fast-paced investigation?
No, certainly it will remain a concern till you have solid data on it. But I'll take you back to the earlier variant that emerged from that region, which is called the beta variant. Beta is by far the most immune escape competent mutant that we know so far. But beta doesn't spread very quickly. Delta, on the other hand, spreads very quickly, but its immune escape is moderate. So the question really is, are these two properties of this virus, immune escape versus transmissibility, are they sort of mutually exclusive? So it is possible that if this virus spreads very quickly, it may be easily neutralized by existing antibodies. So we don't know the answer to those questions. All this speculation is essentially based on individual sites in the virus that have been mutated, and people are speculating based on that. But a word of caution there is that how individual mutations behave and how a combination of mutations behave cannot really be predicted very easily. So let us wait for the studies, but till that time, we need to be very cautious.
Right. Dr. Jamil, how much of this variant, Omicron, how much of it is similar to, say, the beta variant that emerged in South Africa earlier?
So if you're asking me whether there is a possibility that Omicron may have evolved from beta, the answer is no. People have done some analyses, which is called phylogenetic analysis, which is essentially building a family tree of these viruses, going back in time. So you assign a clock to it, and that's called a phylogenetic analysis. And that seems to suggest that this virus is directly evolved from viruses that circulated around the middle of last year. So
Okay.
it has taken about a year for this virus to, sort of change and then emerge in the human population. And the emergence time is now estimated to be sometime in early October of this year.
Okay.
So it's highly unlikely that it has evolved from beta. It's an independently evolving variant. Now, whether it could have evolved in somebody who was immunocompromised with a weak immune system, who could not clear the virus and the virus slowly mutated in this person, that's one possibility. The other possibility is that it was evolving in some animal reservoir and jumped again from an animal into the human population. So again, all these are hypotheses at this time, no firm answers.
The early reports that are now coming in from patients in South Africa, there was a report in Telegraph, in fact, one of, in which one of the doctors said that she's seeing mild, those some unique symptoms. I think the symptoms mentioned were soreness and fatigue. Is it too early to, I mean, I know you said it already, but is it too early to predict whether it would cause serious illness? Or,
no, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. It is too early because there aren't enough patients who have been seen. It is possible that what this doctor saw was only younger patients in whom the disease is naturally mild. So I think let's wait for more results to see whether if there are age-related differences in the disease severity, if there are population-based differences. So all that will have to wait. But the early signs, at least, are encouraging that the virus may not be causing severe disease. But let us not be complacent thinking like that. Let us be concerned, but not get paranoid or get worried too much.
Right. In countries like India, where a large percentage of the population's got the single dose, a certain amount of population has got the double vaccine. How concerning should any new variant be? And what does it mean for us versus, say, a country like Europe, which is on to boosters already?
Yeah, I mean, if I was a policymaker in India and if I was asked to do just one thing, I would say, I have enough vaccine. Let me get the vaccine into as many people as I can over the next 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Increase the vaccination rate as much as I can. We may also consider reducing the time taken for the second dose from the current 16 weeks to maybe 12 weeks or 14 weeks. Because studies have really shown that 12 weeks onwards, you get better efficacy. So I may consider reducing the time to the second dose to 12 weeks, considering this spread. So it's absolutely essential that people get vaccinated.
Right. And in the, you did answer this question earlier, but I just wanted to ask you again, in the elderly population and the healthcare workers who did receive their 2 doses somewhere in January and February of 2021, there are fears of waning immunity. So is that getting them boosters, is that something that we need to be thinking about right now?
That's certainly a policy that should be looked at very seriously. Unfortunately, we don't have very much data to ask, what is the vaccine effectiveness in these populations? The other issue that we will face in India is that almost 90% of doses given in India are Covishield. But Covishield is not a vaccine which you can use as a booster. If I have had 2 doses of Covishield and I get a 3rd dose of Covishield as a booster, it's not going to do very much to enhance my COVID immunity. And that's simply the way the vaccine is, the way the platform is. So for that, we will have to deploy other vaccines. So India should look at importing RNA vaccines for healthcare workers. India also has two other vaccines, protein vaccines. One is the Novavax vaccine from Serum Institute,
Right.
and the other is a vaccine that Biological E makes, which are both protein vaccines which have gone through trials. The numbers look good, but they haven't been approved yet. So India may consider giving emergency approval to those protein vaccines to be used as boosters in healthcare workers. So those are possibly the policy things that should be looked at carefully.
What about something like a Zydus Cadila vaccine, which is, I think, DNA based? How does that work? It's not being studied enough.
Certainly possible. The Zydus Cadila vaccine would also be a good booster. Maybe a small study in healthcare workers initially to show how somebody vaccinated with 2 doses of Covaxin or Covishield responds to the Zydus Cadila vaccine. Certainly, that's a possibility.
And what you say of Covishield, does that also hold true for a Covaxin, where a third dose of Covaxin would not provide the booster?
No, Covaxin third dose can be provided. Covaxin, the nature of the vaccine is that while it gives antibodies and helper T cells, it doesn't give what we call killer T cells. And that adds another layer of protection, which unfortunately all killed vaccines don't give.
Right. Moderna and Pfizer has already made announcements that they are ready to tweak their vaccine if needed within 100 days. Are the vaccines that are available in India also easily tweaked? Is that, the number of days taken, etc.? Is that possible with the platforms that we
not
have?
Not as easily as a DNA or RNA vaccine. So maybe Zydus Cadila should look at tweaking its vaccine. That would be a niche area for that company.
Okay. Just before I let you go, we spoke about how variants emerge. I also wanted to ask you about how viruses disappear. And are we looking at a scenario in the future where this virus just sort of becomes more infectious but less virulent? So I just wanted that understanding from you.
No, certainly. And that's a very interesting point. If the initial results or the initial speculation, I should say, that this virus is less severe, more infectious, but less severe, that would indicate to me that the virus is on the way to becoming endemic. It will cause infection, but it will not cause disease, or at least not cause serious disease. And that's how the 1918 flu disappeared. And this is how this will disappear. But disappearing doesn't mean we will eliminate it.
Right.
It will stay in the population. It will continue to come back to infect like a common cold virus. And there are 4 other coronaviruses that do that. But enough of the population would have been either immunized or infected to allow any serious disease. The reason I say it will not ever be eradicated is that only those viruses can be eliminated that circulate only in the human population. And the examples in front of us are smallpox and polio, which we have almost eliminated.
Right.
And there's only one animal virus called rinderpest in cattle, which has been eliminated. Every other virus goes down in circulation or doesn't cause severe disease simply because it mutates enough. And this virus may be on the way to doing that. So Omicron may be a blessing in disguise, telling us that the virus is coming to a point where we may not have to worry about it beyond getting maybe a booster shot every 2 or 3 years. So let's wait and see.